Hey guys, so welcome back to my channel. My name is Brendan. I am excited to show you what I've been working on a little bit. So last week we decided to delve into some, I think what they were called was catastrophic design failures, which after viewing them, I would have to agree with. Some of them were super funny, some of them were super inappropriate, and some of them were just really bad. So if you didn't check out my last video, it is up on my channel. I would recommend doing that. It's just a good laugh. So today I picked one of the designs that we viewed and discussed from last week and decided to kind of redesign it, see how it could be better. So I decided to redesign the computer doctors one. I thought it was an absolute failure and inappropriate and all of the above. So I thought it was a good idea to go through that, and I think that is a niche. The company is a niche that you don't see very often. So the first thing I did was I looked up the key components in the name. So I looked up the word computer and I looked up the word doctor. And because obviously the company is called Computer Doctors, those are the important terms that are going to be used in the company. So I looked those up in the thesaurus and found some synonyms that kind of gave me an idea of some imagery that I could play with, or some just different concepts that I could use in my logo design. So after that, I went into some sketches. So I would recommend spending, 20 to 30 minutes on sketches. You don't want to rush the process and not spend too much time, or not spend a lot of time on it, but you also don't want to spend too much time and overthink and, be super critical with your sketches, because they are meant to be sketches in the beginning. So they're not meant to be super thought out. They're not meant to be super detailed. They're meant to just be ideas that you're just throwing out on the paper and can use in your variations for the logo. So as you can see, I did some different things. I did some play on, different items that a doctor uses. A stethoscope. I played with some different technological, devices. So like a laptop, like a desktop, stuff like that. And then I also really like the idea of playing with the plus sign. So just because you see that used with the medical profession a lot, the Red Cross, stuff like that. You see that being used with the medical profession. So I liked that idea. So I've got some really good starting blocks for my logo. I've got some different design elements that I could pull and use into my design, whether, and that's mix and matching. So I can pick this element that I like from here and use it here. So I think that's really your key with sketching, is you're just trying to get all your ideas onto one piece of paper, so then you can go and refine what you've got. When you're presenting your logo to your client, you need to present them with a variation of what you have, or, a completely different idea, because it's probably not going to be the right thing the first time. So you really want to give them options, not too many options, because then they just go all crazy and they just get really overwhelmed. But I like to think, okay, I give them 3 different options, and then they can pick one from there and see, different color changes, different type changes, things like that you can change in the process. So I like to give 3 different ideas, and then really hone in on one that the client really enjoys. So as you can see, my 3 variations are here. I vectorized my sketches. I used a pretty generic typeface for all of them, because I think that's something that you get hooked up on, and using one for all of them. And then once you've got that one, then you can go in and play with typefaces, so you can change them. So they're not saying 3 different typefaces with 3 different logos. They're not able to mix and match really with the typefaces, because they're all the same. So again, I've got my 3 different variations. I didn't love the top one. I like the idea of cutting the, not the cross, but the plus sign off just a little bit, but to me, it just doesn't look right. I like my sketch, but I didn't like it when I vectorized it and put it on the computer. So that's something that I come across a lot. And I think a lot of designers too come across that on your sketch, it may look great, but when you vectorize it and it's got really clean and crisp lines, it doesn't come out as well. So that's what I kind of fell with the top. So I didn't really love that one. And honestly, if I were presenting this to a real client, I probably wouldn't have even put that in because they may choose that one. And why would I want to go further with a design that I don't already think is going to work? So I probably wouldn't have choose that one. I probably would have worked a little bit more with some other choices that I made. But for the case, I wanted to kind of talk about that a little bit. So the middle one, I actually like that one the most. We will talk about that one a little bit more, but I just like the different feel with the mouse. I like the big bold letters. So let's go to the third one, the third option that I've got that variation there. So that one's pretty simple. The third one is pretty generic, I would say. So I got these icons from, they're from Smash Icons. So they weren't the icons that I made, but I knew that I wasn't going to be going forward with this option, which is why I, used previously made icons. But the bottom one, I like it. I don't love it. I think I'm getting conflicting opinions with the icons being bigger and then the text being bigger as well. I think you need to have a main focus. So maybe you have just the icons and a subliminary text, or you've got a bigger text with a subliminary icon. I think that's important because with the bottom one, my eyes are being drawn in many different directions. I'm looking at the text because it's a little bit bolder, but my eyes also want to start at the top because it's just, that's where you start. You start from the top, read left from right, or left to right. So that's kind of what my eye's doing with that. I could definitely play around with that one a little bit more, but I liked the uniqueness of the middle one with the different mouse clicking the O in the doctors. I think that it's just not something I've seen before. So I wanted to move forward with that. So if we go forward from that, I wanted to keep it in black and white. So that's another thing that's really important. When you're designing a logo, you need to make sure it works in black and white before you start working in color. A lot of people start working with color and then they're getting into a multitude of things, and they're just pretty much their brain is overwhelmed, and you're not going to be able to put the logo in color at all times. For like a shirt, you're not going to be able to a lot of times print a full color logo, or maybe business cards, the company is wanting to just use one color. So you need to make sure that it works in black and white first, which is what I wanted to do. So my next step was to kind of just play with that logo a little bit more. So what I did, I played with some leading a little bit. I think I actually reverted it back to what it had, because I really liked the typeface that I used. I believe this typeface is Brandon Grotesque. So I like that typeface because it's super generic. It's I would say it's a little bit more modern of a sans serif type. So I played with that a little bit. I played with spacing. Obviously not much has changed from the last variation that you saw, but this one I decided to make the mouse a stroke instead of a fill. So what I did, I outlined it with the black and then left some space so it wasn't completely mixing with the O. And I liked this because it was different than, I think with the last variation, it kind of blended in a lot and it was just this really dark space in the bottom of the logo. So what I did is I made it outlined. I outlined the mouse shape and it gave it just a little bit of more dimension. You could tell that this was in the foreground and the words were in the background. So I liked that change a lot. So I kept that with the final. So let's go into the final. So with the final, I actually added color, obviously. I think it's important when you do a logo. A lot of businesses start with a logo. So they got their logo and then they go from there. So when I'm designing a logo, I like to get a color scheme for the company as well, just because, you know, that's pretty basics. You know, you need a color, you need a little bit of a brand guide, and you need a little bit of, and you need a logo, simply. So that's kind of what I was working with. So I think, when I think of computers, I think of the color green. So I really wanted to use the color green, different shades of green. And then I also like to throw in, you know, just a pop of color that was different than just a white. So I use the yellow, and I like the contrast of the green and yellow, and I think it works really well. So also what you'll see with the final logo is I added a design element in the top of the. I felt like with I felt like with the it was just kind of floating off by itself. I honestly felt like you didn't even need it. So if I were presenting this to a client, I would say, what if you just went to Computer Doctors instead of the Computer Doctors? And, you know, if that was an issue with, you know, rights and usage and everything, whatever, they could say we need to stick to the Computer Doctor. So I kind of kept that, and I added a design element in the top. So it wasn't just a small bit of text up in the top. It also, it's not, the element that I added up top, it's not super bold and it's not super out there, because I want your eyes to be drawn to the words, and that, I think that's super important. So I use the white on the green background as the most important part, I would say. So that popped the most to me, and then the yellow was kind of a secondary, just because, you know, you see this block of color and it does, you see this block of color and your eyes do go to the yellow mouse, but the white on the green, I think, is a little bit more prevalent. So I stuck with that, and I really like how this turned out. I'm not 100% sure on the detail that I added up at the top, the circle and then the line continuation. I don't know if I love that. That's something I would have to think about and stew on a little bit more. But having just completed this logo a couple hours ago, I haven't had time to really think about it. And so for now, I really like the final, and for now I'm going to keep it the way it is because I enjoy it. I hope that helped you guys. I actually really enjoyed this process, and I think it helped me as a designer just make sure that my skills are being kept up. And I am excited to keep doing this throughout my design career. I think, again, like, this is important as a designer to just think about, and it made me really realize that this is what I love to do. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I am looking forward to next week. I don't know what I'll be doing, but I do know that it will not be anything design related. I want just people to watch the channel no matter what their background is. So next week will be something non-design related. Don't know what that's going to be, but I'm looking forward to it, and I hope you guys are too. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, and have a great weekend.